Man, seems like it hadn't been that long, has it? Or has it been that long? Yeah, I know. I was down last week. I was handling some business and whatnot. Just moved into a new place, getting settled and everything. But I'm back now. It's your boy, Denzel Snipes, and welcome to the loaded Wednesday night on Sideline Sports, beginning with this one, the one and the only, the Pundit's Pundit. I'm your host, your moderator, Denzel Snipes, and I got my boys with me. You know, ready for a little six-man tag to anybody out there who's willing to take us on. So first coming up, and this guy is the architect of this show. He's also got pundit views on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Jacob Christner, come on in.
If it's a six-man tag, Scott's got to take the pin.
Okay, sure, he gets the fall, you know.
Yeah, right.
No doubt about it. And then coming up next, and well, he just mentioned it, he is the architect of the South Florida Tribune. You can catch him next on the South Florida Tribune with the Sports Exchange. That's another loaded show as is. A lot of informative, topics with this man. A lot of experience. He's got 40 plus years in sports journalism. To all you newcomers out there who wish to know who the village elder is, here he is. Scott Morganroth. Come on in.
The vintage elder? Did I hear that?
Village elder.
Village.
Well, you're vintage too.
Okay. Yeah. I like that intro. It's pretty cool stuff. Glad to be back on again.
Yeah.
You guys are fun to work with for sure. And we're having a pretty good, strong broadcast as we always do every time we come on together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
So,
to those of y'all who are just who are brand new, come on in, have a seat. And you can catch us on YouTube. If you catch us on YouTube right now, please hit that like and subscribe button. Tune into all of our great material because it's not just the Pundit's Pundit. It's also Confidential. It's also the Gauntlet. It's also the Sideline Sports Show. First and 56. Pushing them back with Kobe White. You name it, we got it. And we're going to be adding more shows coming on. And also we're on Facebook, Twitter, DBTV, and Stream TV. And with that being said, because I did say new show, and I said Jacob's, I had a little surprise for him coming up here. So if you'll excuse us for just 2 minutes, Scott, we have some business to handle.
Sure.
We'll be right back. Okay, so I'm just here to let everybody know that I hate Jake. I'm just kidding. But
who doesn't?
So you all have been tuning into Pundit Views and everything. And we discussed it, and apparently Pundit Views is within its last stretch. In fact, I'll let Jacob go ahead and shine light on that real quick.
Yeah. One of the things is I've had a lot of fun with Pundit Views, a lot of it. Had a lot of good interviews. I mean, some good ones, actually. A couple of nice names into that whole thing. But you know something? A lot of the things is we have a lot easier time putting a show together without the interview thing and putting topics than we do getting interviews to set. And there's been a couple of weeks where we've had to cancel it all together because we had to set it back a week. You know what I'm saying? Or we've had to do this, our little wrestling show. So one of the things, we have ourselves a little surprise that we're doing right now that we're going to do probably within a month. Denzel, you remember?
It's right there on the screen. So August of 2023, right around that time frame.
Yep.
Sideline Sports will have a new show. The Sniper and the Pundit presents Top Rope Talk. So, a bit of background. We've had about 4 editions of Pundit Views that was, you can call it like the prequels to this show. It was called Ask Jake Anything, and it was a pro wrestling edition,
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. We had some pretty rave comments and everything, some good reviews on that one. And it had been thrown around for probably the past year for a pro wrestling show to hit the network. Well, here it is. It'll be myself and Jacob Christner. We will be having all pro wrestling talk all the time. We will all let you know the time and the day that it will be on. We're going to be giving you the best reviews from WWE, AEW, pay-per-views, indies, you name it, even some throwback talk, So it's going to be great. And Jacob, your thoughts on it?
Oh my God. I enjoy this type of stuff, and especially when we've been 40 years, 35, 40 years as wrestling fans. There's so much to be able to talk about, and we're in the middle of a change now. Just like I talk about when it comes to the business end of sports, it's also in wrestling. And we're in another level where it's like, remember, we've had our times when WWE was the only show in town. Now we're in a world where there's a bunch of different things of competition. And we get to be able to talk all kinds of different things and get within the topics. So just like Pundit's Pundit, we get to go into this level too.
Yes, absolutely. So, August 2023, Top Rope Talk coming soon to Sideline Sports Network. Meanwhile, for this last stretch of July, we're going to have some great personalities coming on for Pundit Views. JB Ellis, one of the heads of the network, said to come on. So is John Shear. And it'll be a great finish to the show. And then out with the old and with the new. Of course, if you can go and
we got to get Will. We definitely have to get Will.
Of course, Will Vogel as well. Yep, we're getting back to the core group and all. So absolutely, and of course, reruns of it will be running on Stream TV and as well as on YouTube. Also on Facebook and Twitter, go and see some throwbacks, some really great interviews. So, with that being said, I guess we could let this guy back in.
I guess.
Hey, how's it going, Scott?
Good stuff. I was glad to have an opportunity to go on Pundit's Views. So you've done a really good job with it. So if anybody's looking for an interview show, I'll give my show No Limits a plug. How's that sound? And hard interviews there, for which Jacob Christner was on it as well. So
absolutely. And one of the things about it was just the fact that the reason I'm doing this anyway is because it is tougher to get interviews, but I enjoy doing the interviews. I enjoy them a lot. It's like maybe down the line we could do it on Pundits, you know what I'm saying? Different things, but just not as a show, you know?
Right. No, I completely understand. Hey, as long as you've got something to transition to that you think will be every bit as better, if not better, then more power to you.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, the one thing about wrestling is, I remember there's things that I've said that it's more of a Marvel comic fight than it is like the wrestling that we grew up with. But it's whether we agree with it or not, it's an interesting world now to watch.
I don't know. I like wrestling back in the days in Detroit, back in the 70s and 80s, especially 70s. I can't associate with today's wrestling. I'm sorry.
Well, you're more from the Abdullah the Butcher and Bruiser Brody era, you know. Yeah.
Max Calhoun, the guy that got buried in a piano case.
Yeah, Cowboy Bob Orton, you know.
Yeah. It's a Marvel comic now. All the wrestling in the ring is everything. It's like I said, you can remember they don't sell. It's just kind of like a Marvel comic, but it is what this fan base wants now.
Well, to be fair, ever since Triple H kind of took over, it's becoming less and less that now. And then you have AEW, who's bringing pro wrestling back. Hey, remember the old man's gone now. Okay, so it's not going to be like it was back in 2010. But moving on here, and of course our first segment here, and that is our Prime Pundit Points. All right, so
let me say, I'm going to surprise you with this part. I want to get it to you first, Denzel, but I want to explain to the audience what I was doing here. We have a controversy in Texas that they're going to keep their fight song at the University of Texas, Eyes Over Texas. This is the thing. I am totally for tradition, so that's what I say. But here's the deal. I'm not from Texas. I'm not a Texan. Denzel is the Texan. So as much as anything else is like with any of that kind of stuff like that, I've got to listen and find out and everything. It's not going to change any of our minds to do this. This is what talking is. We change our own mind from our own way. That's what being an adult is. But this isn't here to change the minds. It's here to be able to get to this. And I wanted to get Denzel's viewpoint on this.
All right. And so with that being said, and speaking of which, I am a UT fan myself. I grew up a Longhorns fan. And the Eyes of Texas is one of the fight songs of the University of Texas at Austin, and it's also sung at UTSA as well as UTEP, University of Texas at San Antonio, University of Texas at El Paso, all a part of the University of Texas university system. Of course, the flagship university being in Austin. So as far as the song goes, it was said that, and just a little background here, it said that Robert E. Lee had told his students while president of Washington College, that the eyes are not eyes of Texas, but my eyes are upon you and whatnot, and to do excellent and whatnot. And I actually went to the school. The high school I graduated from was Robert E. Lee High School. This was long before the the controversy of the Confederacy and everything and so forth. And ever since then, they changed the name. It's now Margaret Wisdom Long High School here in Houston, Texas. Now, with that being said, there was actually, and I dug this up from a 2020 article, there was actually no such evidence found that Lee actually used the phrase. However, William Prather, then president of the University of Texas, likely found inspiration from Confederate General John Gregg from the state of Texas. He was from Texas, in which he would say, "The eyes of General Lee are upon you." But it was also reported that there were similar phrases used long before the Civil War. But nonetheless, it became Prather's catchphrase. Um, and this is where the controversy came about. There were some UT basketball players that came out and said that they refused to partake in the tradition, and they pushed for the lyrics of the theme song to be changed, or for the theme song in general to be changed. Also, alongside that, they were seeking to rename some buildings on campus that were named for men who supported the Confederacy and/or segregation. And well, here's my deal, okay, and that is, man, it's kind of hard because you can go both ways with this one. Is you know, and when you talk about this, you talk about the ill-fated third verse of the national anthem, the one that's not sung. But there's people that don't support the national anthem because, well, they've kept that verse, they've kept it. Even though they haven't sung it, but they still kept it. Some people see it as, oh, well, you might no longer be a Klansman, but you still have that white that sheet, that white robe in your trunk. However they want to look at it. You can go both ways with this one. There could be cause to say, hey, there was positive change around it, and it's not that big a deal. They're gonna partake anyway. Then there's cause to say, well, there's cause for it to change because of the roots of where it came from. That is subjective to the listener. That is subjective to you as the viewer. So with that being said, I'm going to say it, while it wouldn't do any harm to change it necessarily, is it exactly as big as removing Confederate statues around the nation and such, and more serious, are there more serious issues out there? Yes, they are. This one right here, and of course we've been given things on short notice before. There may have to be a follow up to this one. I'll be honest with you. There may have to be a follow up to this one. As of right now, I'm on the fence about it. It's not going to stop me from being a University of Texas fan. You know, but again, I will leave it all up to you all, the listeners, the viewers, the consumers, and so forth. And there's my prime pundit point, and maybe a part two coming up sometime in the future.
Well, I'm going to use my prime pundit points to promote something I'm in the process of working on this summer. Over the weekend, my partner, Dr. Edwin Hernandez, who works for the Eagle Corporation, which is a technology-based company in Boca Raton, we were talking, and I told him one day I'd really like to write a book. He said, well, what would be the topic matter? I said, adjusting to new media. Dr. Edwin said, let's do it. It's kind of neat. I really wasn't thinking about it. He says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll help you market it, and I'll even help you put it together and all that, which is kind of cool stuff. So on Monday, we were talking about that, and, he wanted to use my format to utilize it in the textbook. So, Doc, got a better idea. I'm going to write my own book that we're going to go ahead and take the points that we have and apply them in textbook fashion. He's going to call those Mad Mouth Notes. So now my goal here is to write 2 books, hopefully by Labor Day. I had quite an adjustment to get to new media, and being an old school guy like I am, dating back to 1979, I want to be able to relay those points to the average individuals that are getting involved. Now, Dr. Hernandez said that I'm going to have the opportunity to train new podcasters for the company, and that my book will be what they end up going by. So I just want to let everybody know that everything goes according to plan. I'll have 2 new good books by the end of the summer, and I'm really looking forward to the challenge. And the main thing is you know what? There are a lot of people that are in this industry. I want to do the best I can to make them as good as they can become. And working on these projects certainly will be great. And also, I will be doing the Motor City Mad Mouth show later on this summer. So, hope everybody looks forward to it. I'll keep you posted on the changes.
I asked Denzel to get onto that tonight because I wanted to hear, because like I said, I am not a Texan. Not any stretch of imagination. Do I respect Texas? Oh, yeah. Growing up, was one of my favorite shows was Dallas. And I mean, of course, that's just a soap opera. But it was still such a beautiful land, and I liked seeing that. And there's other reasons. But I've always had a respect for Texas, and I just wanted to hear all that kind of deal. I wanted to hear his end because he lives in Houston. He's a UT fan. I knew this. I wanted to see this part. But see, this was my point on it. This isn't a point based off of that. This isn't a point based off that or what my point is, because I don't know enough. I read a lot, but there's things I don't know. Here's the thing. I said this on Facebook today. I said that if you ban the song, all is going to happen is that everybody in the audience, in the stands, are just going to sing it until they get their way. Just the same, there was a time when they banned the Aztecs mascot. Then in the middle of a big game, they bring the mascot back, and everything like that, to a huge applause. They tried to ban the tomahawk chop in Atlanta and Kansas City both. They don't have the drums anymore over in Atlanta, but it's the tomahawk chop still going on every rally, and it's sure as heck going in Kansas City. I mean, that is every kickoff. I mean, first and the second half. Fans, as much as they drive me insane and I say how stupid they can get, they're still in the audience, and they're still in the audience, and they're still going to have a mind of their own. So every single time we do this, and there's a whole 15% of people that want to basically legislate for the other 85%, then you're going to get that. You're going to get the fighting back. And so that's why I think they kept the music. I think it's why they kept the song, is because it's going to get sung anyway. Like the tomahawk chop was done anyway. Like they brought the mascot back anyway. Majority are going to win this thing in the end, because you can't have a loud minority coming that way. You can't have them legislating the world just because you're afraid of feelings. You can't do that. What you got to do is you got to do what we do here at Pundit. We talk. We try to understand a little bit. Yeah, there is the reasoning of, there is the third. What was it? Hey, Denzel, come on a second. What was that? The third verse of the national anthem, you said?
Third verse of the national anthem.
Yes, third verse of the national anthem is not sung. But,
not to mention, the dark history behind that is Francis Scott Key was a slave owner, and he formally said that those who was in favor of abolition were worthy of death. So look at the guy who wrote it. People look at stuff like that.
Well, sure, and that's absolute, but it's like, you want to know what we did over the last years? We don't sing it.
Of course.
We don't sing it at all. We sing a good part of the anthem. We sing all of this, and it's like, and we have advanced in this world. We have advanced so much, with the exception of rednecks, with the exception of terrible people, but we've advanced. We don't have that third verse. Few people, if they're not educated, don't even know there is a third verse to that. And it's like, and the thing is, we've gone past the idea of slavery. We've gone past a lot of stuff. So what we got to do is we got to talk. We've got to quit getting on the TV and on the, and we got, for instance, when the UT decided to keep it, you get their legislators decide to get a press conference and say how racist and everything it is. It ain't going to do any good. That doesn't do any good. A lot of people don't understand things, so educate. And I'm not talking about educate to your way, educate to every single way, and start talking to each other. We're not talking enough. We're fighting too much.
Absolutely. And those were our prime pundit points. And here's to Scott Morgenroth and Man, I'm looking forward to those books. I'm gonna be the first one in line. So absolutely, if you need anything help, you can always reach out.
Well, I appreciate you guys. You guys are like brothers to me. And when the opportunity came over the weekend to do these with the person I'm working with right now, then I had no choice. I knew I had the idea. I've contemplated doing a lot of books over the years, but nothing felt more right than this one. And I've gotten other opinions about the idea, and everybody is giving me thumbs up big time, 10 times over again. So
Go
now I
ahead,
have a
go ahead.
lot of work to get done, and that's what I'm prepared to do to hopefully meet the time schedule that Dr. Hernandez and I have set for it. So I'm determined to do it, and he's going to have some people working under me to get this done, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I've always wanted to write a book. Now I feel like I'm much closer than ever towards accomplishing this personal goal.
Awesome. Absolutely. Well, let's get on down to business, shall we? And that is our first topic. So this was actually, to those of you all who didn't tune in to Basketballs, this was talked about, and we'll go ahead and expound upon this one. And that is the recent ESPN layoffs. They laid off many personalities, including Jalen Rose and longtime mainstay Susie Colbert after 27 years. Here's a list of, or here's some of the ones that got laid off, and that is also Todd McShay, who was an NFL draft analyst, NFL analyst Keyshawn Johnson, NBA broadcaster Jeff Van Gundy, TV personality Max Kellerman, Rob Ninkovich, Neil Everett, Chris Chelios, a lot of former athletes, Matt Hasselbeck, Steve Young. Let's see, LaFonso Ellis, Andre Ward, the boxing analyst and former champion. So yeah, some pretty heavy hitters that got X from the network. And there's been a bit of controversy because Malika Andrews kept her job. She's been under a little bit of little bit of negative buzz in the last couple of years. I'm not going to expound on it or anything, but I want to swing it over to Jacob first and get your thoughts on the layoffs. And I mean, you could say who you thought could have stayed, could have went. I don't know. What's your take on this?
I think Susie DeColber was too safe for this place at the end. I mean, remember ESPN now is trying to hit a grand slam. I mean, literally, you got Pat McAfee, who is an absolute star. They're probably going to go after Shannon Sharp, star. They're going to these things. It is adding stars to this whole thing. Susie is their little safe deal, and they wanted to say goodbye. I don't know why she's as consistent as it comes. Malika, I said this on Sunday night. I don't have an issue with Malika. My issue is Kendrick Perkins is still around. My issue is Kendrick Perkins is still around, and I mean, he has nothing to say. He has nothing to say. It's like Malika can give chances. I know what you said with the mistakes, but to me, she's not as hard. It's like Jalen Rose is gone. I think Jalen Rose has been gone since that stupid. What was that hostage tape that he did when he said something quote unquote wrong?
Oh yeah, and then he walked back and apologized.
I think this is why I keep saying quit apologizing. I say this every single time on social media. Quit apologizing. You lose your job anyway. Every time. You notice what was it? Jim Edmonds. Jim Edmonds was on the Cardinals network. He was on the Cardinals network, and he talked about how he wanted the Redskins and the Indians back as names. They threw a complete fit. He did not apologize. Forgotten in 2 days. Quit apologizing. This is the thing. I mean, Jalen Rose should have just either walked out and just made a thing or whatever, but he just lost his job about 4 months later. And it's like he did, and he embarrassed himself by doing that by itself. But there are people that do need to go. Here's the thing: Stephen A. need to go? No, because he's number one.
He's the face of the network.
He's the face of the network, and he's the face of the network. He's number one. But he went off and said, "It's like, oh, I could be gone." No, you can't. The only way you're going to be gone is if you distract by saying that. Act as a distraction. You're nowhere near that thought process. You're the face of the network.
And before you continue, there are a lot of people out there who think that because he actually did come out with an episode of Stephen A. Smith's show where he addressed the layoffs, and there's this misconception that he's the highest paid on the network. He actually came on there and clarified that he's not the highest paid on the network. Now, does that mean that he's not the face of the network? He's still the face of the network. You can be the face of an entity without being the highest paid. Look at the NFL. Who has been the face of the league for the last 20-something years, but he was never the highest paid? Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
So it's possible for you to be the face of an entity and not be the highest paid. Like, don't just, alleviate everything to money. Don't allude everything to money. Stephen A. Smith is the face of the network because of who he is and what he brings to the network. My bad, Jacob. Go ahead.
He's a worker, and he's a worker.
Yes.
He did. I mean, good Lord, like part of about 3 or 4 shows plus his podcast. I mean, and he does his homework, and it's like, but the biggest mistake that he's doing is he's getting in with the Bomani Jones situation and all the situations and getting into race. It's like the one thing that was making Stephen A. is he just talks sports. It's like by itself. My question I have to ask is he getting into this fight to cause himself a distraction so he can get into the same thing? Because truthfully, he's not in trouble. Without doing something like that, he's not in trouble. He's number one. He works hard. There are no trouble. It'd be like firing Dusty Baker. You know what I'm saying? It's like firing Dustin Baker or firing Mike Tomlin. There's no trouble to it. There's no reason to bring it up. The only difference is those other two would not bring that up. They're just working. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. I don't have a problem with Malika. I have a big problem with Susie Culver, but to me, she's going to go Fox or Outkick or something within 25 seconds. That doesn't, or she's going to take a vacation or something. It should have been Mel Kiper over Todd McShay. And personally, to me, Matt Bakota needs to be on the network doing this in the first place because he's better than both of them. So there's that. And I'm just saying, being truthful with that part. But anyway, we're going to be seeing a new era of ESPN with Pat McAfee anyway, who is a star. So they're going for the Grand Slam. So we'll see what happens.
The $103 million man. And Stephen A. Smith was sure to clarify that Pat McAfee is not an employee of ESPN. He is a product. He is a name. He's become a household name. I mean, between ESPN and he was wrestling in WWE and even announcing in WWE and everything. Like, ever since he's retired as a punter, like, he's become way more famous as everything else he's been doing than he did as a punter. But I'm gonna swing it down to Scott because I know you've been around a long time and you've seen the share cuts everywhere and such from different networks, and you probably had your ills about who should have stayed, who should have left, and so forth. But what's your take on this whole thing?
Well, number one, good riddance to Max Kellerman. He is absolutely awful. He should have been gone a long, long time ago. The fact that he's made it this long, good luck. Good riddance to Max Kellerman. Hated to see Jeff Van Gundy go. Really good. I enjoy it. I've learned a lot from him. But my feeling is they're going to bring on Doris Burke to take over for Van Gundy. That seems like the most logical move for them to make. I've met Doris Burke over the National Sports Media Association awards maker. She's one of the nice people, but she's very knowledgeable as well. As far as Susie Colbert, that was a mistake. Period. Okay. Mainstay, goes to show you loyalty doesn't mean anything there. This young little girl, Ashley Brewer, who's actually going to get married to Frank Kaminsky, she was an up-and-comer, but she won't have a problem landing. As far as Keyshawn Johnson, guess what? Skip Bayless may have found himself a new partner, and I wouldn't be surprised if he lands over at Fox. Let's go over some of the other names. Jay Williams, good riddance. Rob Ninkovich, good riddance. Neither of them were any good anyways. Let's see. Neil Everett, I think his time had come. He's doing some work up in Portland with the Trailblazers anyways. I don't know what they're doing with the LA. Let's talk about some of the other broadcasts. Name a few other ones. Let's see. We've got, you got the list. Todd McShay will end up at the NFL Network again. He's that good. I believe he will. Mel
Hasselbeck, Steve Young.
Steve Young, you know what? He probably doesn't care anyways, but he's a guy that could re-land at the NFL Network. I once had a guy on one of my shows named Jay Crawford, who actually is back in Cleveland doing the local news. And, let's face reality, with Disney, Chris Chelios, not a big deal. Hockey's not a big deal over there. Look,
Woj is on the list too.
what did he's gonna get let
Gene,
go?
he's gone. Gene Wojciechowski, college football reporter. Woj is
Oh,
on too.
that's no big deal. I mean, you know what? They're probably so flooded in that area, and the big guys like those people land jobs easily. They're
Oh
not
yeah.
going to be left out there. I name a few other names. I don't have the list in front of me, but let's go through the list real quick.
I think you named pretty much everybody. Let's see here: Colbert, McShay, Keyshawn Johnson, Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Max Kellerman,
Now,
June Lee,
Jalen
who's a
Rose,
staff Florida.
to me, I could actually see him going back to Detroit and doing Pistons basketball at some point and being heavily involved with the Metro Detroit community. That's where he's from. He's born and raised there, part of the Fab Five. I could see him. Go ahead. From Rose, you have then what?
I said June Lee, staff writer, Rob Ninkovich, NFL analyst, Neil Everett.
He never did anything with me, Ninkovich.
David Pollock, Chris Chelios.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
Nick
think
Friedel.
he'll be a loss on the week on the college football show with ESPN. Pollock, he's very qualified. Go ahead, keep going.
Let's see here. Hang on a second. Let me. Oh, I didn't. Here we go. All right. Let's see. Where was I at? Matt Hasselbeck, Steve Young, Jason Fitz.
Yeah, there you go. Matt Hasselbeck, no big deal. Jason Fitz, surprised he lasted as long as he did. Keep going.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. LaFonso Ellis, Jordan Cornette.
Well, you know what? LaFonso Ellis, to me, that can go either way. And who's the other one?
Jordan Cornette, college basketball analyst.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. You said Cornette.
There's always the saturation with college basketball.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
You said Cornette. I just had a he's a heel.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's not that Cornette. Also got Andre Ward, the boxing analyst, former champion. Doug Kazarian.
Kazarian was an interesting one because I thought that ESPN was making a niche for itself trying to get in gambling, but go figure. No, gambling is one of those situations where it's hit or miss on some of the people. I've invited some gambling people on and wasn't overly thrilled with the results, so I doubt I'll do a whole lot of that this fall. And who else you have?
That pretty much is it. It says Vince Carter, potentially NBA panelist and former player, but I guess he's not gone just yet, but he may be going soon. But that's the list.
Right. So, I mean, I could see about 8 or 10 people that I would have no problem with anyhow. Guys like Young will land somewhere else easily if they want to. Steve Young, he doesn't care. I mean, it was nice of him to do it. But what it really tells you is if you're dismantling that Monday Night Countdown crew, if I were ESPN at this point, I wouldn't worry about Monday Night Countdown. I would just get to
go right to the game.
Right. Go Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and whoever the sideline, I think Lisa Sultan, get to it. Save yourself a lot of production time. Who cares? Let SportsCenter run another hour. But
yeah,
you might as well. You got rid of a lot of important people on that show. You might as well let it go altogether.
Yeah, pretty much.
See, Max Kellerman, I agree. Horrible. And a big panderer. And a ass kisser. And he's every bit of it. He's every bit of all of that. And he was terrible. But it's like there's quite a bit that needed to be there. But there were some mainstays on that network. Like let me tell you this. Stephen A. is not one of these, but I'm just saying there are some people on there that caused a lot of these problems that got them there that are not gone. Mm-hmm. They caused it. They caused it. Max Kellerman is one of those, and he is gone. But there's a lot of them that they caused a lot of issues, especially during 2020 and everything like that, and a lot of strife. And they caused the problems with the ratings and caused the problems within the network, and they're not gone.
Well, Max Kellerman's departure is long overdue. I don't care what anybody says. He was god awful.
Kellerman's garbage. I'm glad he's gone, but it's like knowing him, he'll probably find something somewhere. He'll probably take. I could see him taking Bomani Jones's. Remember Bomani? What was he on HBO? Bomani Jones.
Yeah, I think he was. Recently.
He just got canned, so I could see him taking his place since he was the HBO box in the first place.
Well, I mean, again, Max Kellerman's niche is boxing.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
he's good at. Let him
Now, as
stay
a
there.
boxing analyst, I had no problem with him at all.
All right, but
I
you know
didn't think
what?
anyone could touch him at boxing.
Let him stay in boxing. Get rid of him everywhere else. Every time I saw his points, I gagged. And I'm thinking they're bringing this guy. Hey, send me an application. I'll fill out it. I'll fill it out to get rid of Max Kellerman.
Well, he's a panderer. He's a panderer. It's like I mean, he absolutely. Oh, I agree. He's like an HGTV husband with a wife. Yes, this Foyer is very nice. Oh yeah, yes, man. Yes, yes, definitely. That's what he is. That of ESPN. It's like he will not have his own way, and it's like he wants everybody to be happy with him. He wants the cool kids to be happy with him. So I'm glad he's gone.
Yeah, well, I'm glad
Well,
he's gone for a lot of reasons. Journalism and knowledge of sports, to me, he really fails badly in a lot of those counts. I mean, listen, Stephen A. Smith, when he has his first take show, it hasn't been relevant at all since Skip Bayless left to begin with. We all know that Shannon Sharp might be the guy that may get in there. We'll see. I thought Rob Parker was really good. Anybody that stands up to Stephen A. Smith, he can't handle it because his ego's bigger than Mount Everest. Okay. And I've actually met the guy one time and at a Miami Heat game. I had no problem. But the reality is this: I met Bob Lee a couple of years ago in North Carolina at an NSMA Awards. I encourage any broadcasters that want to be up to get to know, branch off a little bit, they should join it. It's not a very big cost. But the reality of the situation, I spent time with Bob Lee, and he got out at the right time, and he told me, the network's going in a direction that, and he would. I said, Bob, you don't have to tell me anything. I'll do your talking for you. Stephen A. Smith is absolutely awful, and here's the big rule in media. Okay, the big rule: if you're trying to develop a following, you've got to show up with no drama. I let so many people go on my network if I think they're more trouble than they're worth. I really do. Because if you're not going to show up and you're high maintenance, there's another person that'll step up and do every bit as good as anything else.
it's got less
But
baggage. Yeah.
you've got to build a following. And if people that aren't interested and believe in that, I don't have any use for them. You had a lot of great shows back in the day. Bob Ryan's a personal friend of mine. And, he's retiring a little bit, backing off. The reality is they let too many of the old guard down, and as a result, they're going to pay for it. If they're
And you know
not,
what we're doing? We're making up for it. We're making up for it at Sideline Sports. It's like by itself. We're going to talk. When we talk tough issues, we all talk. We don't yell. We don't holler. We don't raise Cain. We do get stuff. We listen to each other.
well, you don't talk all over each other. You have to have an organized format. One guy that I did learn a great deal from was Mike Greenberg. He does a really good job the way he makes sure everybody gets their 2 cents in. I admire him for that. I think one of their biggest mistakes was when they let Mike Golick go and Mike Greenberg instead. I thought that was a show that had a lot of teeth to it. I used to watch it a lot, but when they let those guys go, I could never really acclimate to his new format. And you got to remember, ESPN's programming is too limited to a couple sports. If you are the worldwide leader, you got to talk about everything, not limited to a couple sports.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's where they are. They're limited. I mean, I had Jerome Jaranovich. I think everybody's heard of him, right? Former CNN sportscaster on my show.
Yeah.
And I asked him, how on earth did they not mention Chuck Hughes, who passed away? Well, none of them knew about it. The only one that knew anything about it was Mike Wilbon and Tony Kornheiser. And Herman Edwards I crushed him. Here's a guy that's 68 years old said, I've never seen it happen before. Really? You're 68 years old. I never talked to him, but if I ever see him, I'll never watch him again. How does a 68-year-old man not know Chuck Hughes died? Let alone, I'm going to take it a little bit more personal because I was at the game for which he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
When I was only 8 years old, this happened in front of me. So, what Jerome's answer was to me, because I wanted some clarity on that, he said, Scott, here's the deal. Okay, they have a lot of young people doing it, and they don't even know anything about it, where a lot of older producers would have caught it. And they didn't. But Mike Wilbon, Tony Kornheiser were the only two people on that network that addressed Chuck Hughes. That's the state of journalism over at ESPN. It is absolutely awful. And me personally, I think it's a sinking ship.
Yep.
Yeah. It's surprising that that someone could not know about that, seeing as he's the only one that died on the field. You know, it's not like, they're dying on the field like 10 per year. He's literally the only one in history.
Well,
Like,
he is
how
the
do you
only
not know?
one. The
Yeah,
only
he's the
one
only
that
one in
I
history,
remember during training camp was Corey Stringer, who died during training camp.
In fact, if you think about it, that's actually pretty pathetic. If you know that Justin Tucker kicked the longest field goal in NFL history, but you don't know the only man who died on the field.
No doubt about it.
Well,
And
it's
that's
now.
why
Justin Tucker kicking that is the now. Everything's the now. History is now.
Hmm.
And
But that defeats the purpose of the word history.
right.
Yeah.
Well, but none of these people know it. I mean, it's all flash. I don't even watch them anymore. I've gotten so angry at the network because of all the moves, all the people that I could learn me personally from, aren't there. What benefit is it for me to do it?
Yeah.
Well, anybody getting into journalism will know. I mean, unfortunately, Dick Chapman there because he passed away. John Saunders was great. And those are the guys that went out there and did a wonderful job on the sports reporter. I know Mitch Albom real well. I started with him in Fort Lauderdale and worked with him up in Metro Detroit. So I know him really well. And again, as I alluded to earlier, Jay Crawford was a guy who went through around the layoffs and he made out all right. Just because people leave ESPN doesn't mean they're not going to land somewhere else.
Oh
Don't
yeah,
they will. And
I don't think that ever was the issue. The issue was whether they should have or should have not been cut in the first place. You know what I mean?
Right.
We know, for example, Steve Young. We know he's going to get on somewhere, but should he have really been cut? I mean, I didn't have a problem with him.
Yeah. Let's get a second topic. We're running.
That's all right.
Yeah. Well, we let's see here. Second topic. Roku announces first sports package with Formula E Racing Series. Jacob, was this yours?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but it's like, and this is the thing. This is where we're going at right now. We talk about ESPN being a sinking ship. Yes, they are a sinking ship, but a lot of these networks are going to be sinking ships. Well, here's the deal. We are the future, regardless. I mean, by itself, as far as a small network building itself. And then guess what? It's not just ESPN getting these type of deals anymore. The Formula E Racing Series, for anybody who doesn't know, is the electric racing cars. Mm-hmm. And it's like people will say, this is what you heard me. Both of you heard me say this. I wanted LIV, Live Golf, to do this, like Roku or YouTube or something like that. I didn't want them to get on that stupid CW. Mm-hmm. It's like if you're going to build, if you are state of the art, there's nothing about networks that are state of the art. Nothing. Right. Formula E is doing what Live Golf should have done. Just get on a streaming service. Get on a YouTube. Get onto those things. And I said this on this show. This is the future. This is the future. Remember, Roku is free. Free is becoming the big thing. We have 4 baseball teams in this league that have gone from their original television deal, had the bankruptcy with Bally's, and now going to local.
Yep.
Free is the deal, especially with streaming. That is the thing. That's why, besides the fact that ESPN has some absolute ridiculous people on it, who some of them have gone, some of them, but the biggest issue with it is the fact that they used to be state of the art.
Yeah.
Who had a sports network? They are no longer. But guess what? Neither is Fox. Truthfully, Outkick isn't. Truthfully, Barstool isn't. Anything getting a network, even if it's on the internet, is not. Getting your streaming service and getting yourself on a thing like the Formula E. Getting on YouTube and trying to take another thing, kind of like FIBA basketball, the International Basketball Association. Mm-hmm. When you have Cote d'Ivoire versus Ghana, in a semifinal or something. When you could have those, that's innovative.
Yeah.
Those type of things are why you get. It's like I got to see Luka before that whole thing because I was a dig around. You could see the Wembanyama everywhere. Yeah. It's like everybody saw him now. I did that kind of stuff with Luka. But it's like, this is the world that we have. It's apps. It's not television anymore. 15-year-olds don't watch television. They don't. I know this. Got a nephew that age. They don't watch television. They watch their apps. The world is in the app. And the Formula E made a tremendous move there.
And I said this for the last probably 6 or 7 years. I said, well, I guess now in 2023, I would say in about 5 to 7 years from now, cable TV will be obsolete. Because think about it. You could get DirecTV, right? So I used to install for DirecTV back in like 2016. You get all these ridiculous channels, right? And
Mhm.
how many of them out there? Let me ask you, how many of them out there have DirecTV, right? They're paying like $120 a month, and they only maybe watch 4 channels.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
It'd be a total waste. Why pay that much for cable TV when you only watch a certain amount of channels, and damn near every channel has its own streaming app now? All you
Yep.
watch is HBO, HBO Max. Oh, all you watch is Fox Sports, Fox Sports. All you watch is NBC, Peacock. You know, why pay 120, $80 when you can, and those streaming apps, oh, they're somewhere between what, $5, $10 a month? Oh, you only watch 4 channels? Oh, cool. $35, $4, $40, you know?
Do
So
not forget, if Peacock leaves WWE Network again.
exactly. Yep. Oh, all you watch is wrestling? Boom, WWE Network. You know, but let's bring it down to Scott. And I know you've seen some things because I mean, granted, yeah, you know, the radio side, the print side, and everything like that. And now it's just so you got all these streaming and things. Your thoughts about this, and how far did did this whole thing come? You know, from just TV and radio to right now and that stuff you've seen.
Well, Formula E racing intrigues me if you've got electric cars racing around a track or a road course. So I would definitely be interested in watching that. And when I do, I'll bring Jacob Christer on with myself and Jeremy Ballrick for the professor and the pupil. We'll definitely give this a little bit more attention.
Definitely.
Number one, DirecTV has been devalued because they don't have the NFL Sunday ticket anymore.
Nope.
So as if it wasn't bad enough already, it is what it is. What are we doing? We're streaming, right? Isn't that where it's really all headed to begin with?
Yeah.
As far as your comments about cable TV, yeah, I get 7 years it could be gone. The first time I ever saw cable TV was in 1979 at Michigan State University when I was visiting some friends, and I saw ESPN Sports Center, and that's when they were doing all their shows out of a little truck or mobile home of some sorts until it became the monster what it is. But I think what you're looking at with all the latest developments here is it's called grocery store shopping. I'm going to go out there and pick what I want, and I will go ahead and put it in my bag. Well, it does make a lot of sense that people are going this direction. It is what it is. What are TVs going to look like? Well, you're always going to have the big TVs, right? The big screens. Everything will be connected to your phone. You put it on there. So, when you put a lot of satellites into the sky, what do you think are going to happen? This.
Yep. Exactly.
Astronauts and satellites. My goodness.
Just to give both of you and I mean I'm sure you know, but just to give everybody else an idea of how far along that this has come. So when I was in the military, of course, some of the older heads, the older ranking people that had been in like 10, 15 years, before I even came in and whatnot, they used to be stationed in, like Guam, Japan, Hawaii, and so forth, back in the 1980s. You want to know how they watched the Super Bowl? Get this. So, whenever you're in Japan and Korea and Guam and all that, you're a day ahead. Okay. So while the Super Bowl is playing in the United States, what they'll do in the United States is they will tape the first half on VHS and then fly it on a plane across the water to wherever it needs to go as the second half is being played and being recorded. Once they watch the first half, then the second half tape comes in. They literally fly it over, and then the second half comes in, and then boom, they watch it. And all they had to do was just not call any relative back home in the States and say like, hey, who won the game or nothing. So that kind of gives you an idea of how far along things have gone. They had to record the Super Bowl on 2 different VHSs and fly them on an aircraft across the Pacific.
Just imagine if it was beta.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, when I was growing up, we had picture tubes. I don't think there's any more picture tubes anymore now, are there?
Definitely not.
Yeah, I know, right?
Exactly.
Well, we got to get on to one more topic. The mogul one. You want to save it till next week, Jake?
The winner of the last two.
We have the NCAA and the two moguls.
Do the moguls.
The moguls. Okay, we'll do the other one for next week, and then we'll do our
Yep.
parting shots, and then we got to get Scott over there to Sports Exchange. All right, so Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, newest moguls. Kind of seen the names on the news.
Yep.
It's not just acting anymore.
Have you seen Wrexham yet? Welcome to Wrexham.
I hadn't seen it just yet.
Go to it. It's amazing. It's on Hulu. They own Wrexham, which was a fifth-level soccer team who finally avoided relegation and moved up a level to a fourth level. They bought that one from basically nothing. They own a vodka, they fizzy water. They own.
They're taking the Clooney route. I see where this is going.
And over and over and over. And this is the thing: moguls don't look like Rockefeller anymore. They don't look like J.P. Morgan anymore, where they're old. These are young guys.
Yeah.
These are young guys. And the thing is, they were saying, Ryan Reynolds said, I'm going to take a break after this movie. I tell you why he's taking a break. He's got like 16 businesses he's running. Of course he's taking a break. But the thing is, this shows where you can run these things when you have a phone in your hand all the time. We're doing this from ours. You know what I'm saying? In our tablets. We're doing this from ours. And it's like, when you can do everything, you can do a movie. You can do a movie, then you can go check your stock. You can do it. So, you can find out, get to checks. That is how connected the world is. And it's like, and they have taken full advantage. And the moguls, they're young. Biggest difference. They're not going to, and guess what? They're not only young, some of them are women. Sarah Blakely, Spanx, for instance.
Right.
Some are women. It's like, guess what? They're young, they're women, they're black, they're Chinese, they're all that kind of stuff like that. There is a diversity to it now, which is you'll see that in magazines, but in the middle of the hate, we don't talk about any of this. This is the world we really do have now. It's like, mind you, women do have more work to do, but you got to realize that a women's soccer game got 82,000 people. Remember that, and that's the big thing. This is our world now.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, your thoughts on this real quick before we get to parting shots.
Yeah, it'll be real quick. Welcome to 2023.
And that's it. And with that being said,
well, that's probably the shortest answer you've ever gotten out of me. So.
No, the shortest.
No, you've had a one-word response before. You've had a one-word response.
You had a zero-word response. You've refused to talk about the last of my topics.
Yeah, he did plead the fifth a couple of times too. But
well, I do on specific topics. I don't want to go out there and alienate people. They always say, "Thou shalt." I'll give you a great one-liner. Thou shalt keep thy foot on the ground, not thy mouth.
Hey, that's a good
my foot's in my mouth plenty for both of us.
I know when to keep it out of there.
Well, to end the show, our Pundit views, parting shots, and let's see, we'll go real quick. And so, as of late, rapper Saweetie had her 30th birthday party, and Bronny James and his friend were refused entry. Bronny James, of course, being 18 years old, and his buddy was like 23, but they were refused entry. It is said that, hey, that was a party for grown folks, but the way I took it is, hey, sometimes it doesn't matter who your daddy is. Scott, on to you.
Well, my parting shots is if the LA Angels had any luck, it would be no luck at all. Mike Trout's going to miss a lot of time, and mark my word, Shohei Ohtani is banged up at the wrong time. Feel bad because if indeed Shohei Ohtani goes somewhere else, you'd hate to see a guy like him leave under difficult circumstances. He's going to be able to write his own ticket financially. But I have a little compassion for the Angels, and to lose their two biggest players now when they were actually doing decent, it's totally unfortunate.
We're going to talk about this in confidential tonight, but I'll say I started an early one. Kyle Hendricks had a fourth win that was right in the hands, blown in the ninth. He is 2.82 ERA. He's been like 2.3 since in his hot streak. You've got to remember, this is the same guy who had a 2.16 ERA and led the league, 2.18, and led the league one year. He has that capability. But Cubs have a miserable bullpen. And it's like, it's got to be some point. And I said this, luckily, and probably with the injury, with sort of the injury with Ed Stroman, it probably keeps him around. But we can't even hope for that right now. And if, like, you get onto a cold streak and they have to sell, you don't think that Kyle can't get traded, especially when he's on a hot streak right now. He literally has had, he started out walking people and having issues and trying to find his control. Not anymore. One walk in the last 3 games.
Wow.
It's time. It's time to go get a bullpen and help this guy out before you lose him.
Indeed. And so that is our show for today. Make sure if you are on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you are hitting that follow button. Also, subscribe on YouTube to Sideline Sports for the latest and greatest material. So for Scott, the Motor City Morganroth, and Jake, the Pundit's Pundit, I am Denzel Snipes. We'll see you in 7 days. Now head on over to the South Florida Tribune for the Sports Exchange. Later.